Imagine waking up in a place where every single day feels exactly the same. Cold walls, locked doors, no freedom, no escape, and no idea if you'll ever see the outside world again. Now imagine knowing that thousands of people before you walked through those same doors, and many of them never came back out. Some prisons were built to punish criminals, but others became something much darker. Places filled with suffering, fear, isolation, and stories so disturbing that people still talk about them decades and sometimes even centuries later. Today, we're counting down 5 of the most terrifying prisons in history, and trust me, the number 1 spot is far more disturbing than anything you might expect. Before we get started, make sure to like the video and subscribe to Voltori for more dark stories, forgotten history, and mysterious places from around the world. Now, let's be. Number 5. Hoa Lo Prison. Hidden in the busy streets of Hanoi, Vietnam, stands a prison that earned a reputation for cruelty and suffering. At first glance, it may not look particularly frightening, but appearances can be deceiving. Built by French colonial authorities in the late 19th century, Hoa Lo Prison was designed to hold political prisoners and those who challenged the government. Conditions inside were brutal. Cells were overcrowded, fresh air was limited, and prisoners were often chained together for long periods of time. Many inmates spent years living in tiny spaces, with little comfort and almost no freedom of movement. Disease spread easily, punishments were harsh, and every day became a struggle simply to survive. Later, during the Vietnam War, American prisoners of war were also held inside Hoa Lo. Some sarcastically nicknamed the prison the Hanoi Hilton. But behind that ironic nickname was a place associated with fear, uncertainty, and hardship. Today, tourists walk through the prison museum and view the preserved cells, but many visitors say there's something unsettling about the atmosphere. A strange heaviness in the air, as if the suffering that happened there somehow left a permanent mark on the building itself. Number 4. Tower of London. When people visit the Tower of London today, they see one of England's most famous landmarks, a historic fortress, a tourist attraction, a piece of history. But for centuries, this place inspired fear throughout the kingdom. Behind its thick stone walls, prisoners waited for trials, interrogations, and sometimes execution. Many had been accused of betraying the crown. Others had simply become enemies of powerful people. Once those gates closed behind you, nobody knew what would happen next. Some prisoners spent months inside, others spent years, and for many, the tower became the last place they ever saw. Stories of torture and political intrigue helped create the prison's terrifying reputation. But what makes the tower even more fascinating is what people claim still happens there today. Countless reports of ghostly figures, mysterious shadows, and unexplained sounds have emerged. Guards, visitors, and historians have all shared strange experiences. Whether you believe those stories or not, one thing is certain: the Tower of London remains one of the most chilling prisons ever built. And after learning its history, it's easy to understand why. Number 3. Eastern State Penitentiary. Imagine going days without speaking to another person, then weeks, then months, maybe even years. No conversations, no friendships, no connection with the outside world. That was life inside Eastern State Penitentiary. Located in Philadelphia, the prison opened in 1829 and introduced an idea that many people believed would change the prison system forever. Total isolation. Each prisoner lived alone, ate alone, exercised alone, and spent most of their life surrounded by silence. At first, officials believed the system would encourage prisoners to reflect on their mistakes and become better people. Instead, something very different happened. Many inmates reportedly suffered severe depression, anxiety, paranoia, and mental breakdowns. Some struggled to cope with the loneliness. Others completely lost touch with reality. The prison became one of the most famous examples of how isolation can affect the human mind. Today, the abandoned structure looks like something from a nightmare. Long empty hallways, broken cell blocks, dark corners, and an atmosphere that many visitors describe as deeply unsettling. Some even believe the prison is haunted, and after walking through those silent corridors, it's not hard to see why. Number 2. Alcatraz Federal Penitentiary. If there's one prison almost everyone has heard of, it's Alcatraz. Sitting alone on a rocky island in the middle of San Francisco Bay, Alcatraz became one of the most feared prisons in American history. It housed some of the country's most notorious criminals, people considered too dangerous for ordinary prisons. Life inside was strict. Every movement was monitored, every rule was enforced, and every inmate knew exactly where they stood. But the real nightmare wasn't always inside the prison, it was outside. The freezing water surrounding the island acted like a natural barrier. Strong currents, low temperatures, and a long distance to shore. Even if someone escaped their cell, surviving the journey to freedom was another challenge entirely. Yet some prisoners were desperate enough to try. The most famous escape happened in 1962, when 3 inmates disappeared after breaking out of their cells. Despite one of the largest manhunts in prison history, they were never officially found. Did they survive? Did they drown? Nobody knows. And more than 60 years later, that mystery still fascinates people around the world. Number 1. Tuol Sleng Genocide Museum. The most horrifying place on this list wasn't originally built to be a prison. It was a school. Children once laughed in its classrooms. Teachers once taught lessons in its hallways. It seemed like an ordinary place until everything changed. During the rule of the Khmer Rouge in Cambodia, the school was transformed into a prison known as S-21. What followed became one of the darkest chapters in modern history. Thousands of innocent people were brought there. Men, women, children. Many were accused of crimes they never committed. Inside the prison, prisoners faced interrogation, torture, and unimaginable suffering. Very few ever left alive. Today, the building serves as a museum. Photographs of victims still line the walls. Prison cells remain preserved, and the evidence left behind tells a story that is almost impossible to comprehend. Unlike the other prisons on this list, the horror of Tuol Sleng doesn't come from ghost stories or escape attempts. It comes from the fact that everything that happened there was real. Real people, real suffering, real lives destroyed. And sometimes, reality is far more terrifying than any horror story. These prisons became symbols of fear, isolation, and human cruelty. Places whose stories continue to haunt history, long after their doors were closed. But out of all 5 prisons, which one do you think was the most terrifying? Let me know down in the comments. And if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit the like button. Subscribe to Valtteri